Hello everyone. As part of a series of video lectures in mining missionary. In this video, I'm going to cover the contents of chapter 3, and it is first part of chapter 3. Okay, let's move on. Before we start, let us recap what we discussed in the last video lecture. Like in the last lecture, we discussed about what are different types of AFC and their classification. Like classification of AFC is being carried out based on what type of AFC panel is being used. Whether the panel is of what we call bottom opened AFC or bottom closed AFC, and depending on the what we call the floor conditions, right? If it is of a very hard or medium hard rock, wherein like the AFC will not penetrate into the floor. In such a situation, we'll be using bottom open AFC. And we also discussed about the bottom closed AFC, because in case of if the floor is of muddy kind of thing, where during advancement of the AFC, there is a chance of the penetration of the AFC panels into the floor. As a result, it may get jammed, and and its maintenance becomes very difficult. In such situations, we'll be using bottom closed AFC. Next, the FCs are further classified into classified based on the attachment of chains to the flight bars. Whether the chains are attached to the flight bars in the middle, then it is known as twin inboard AFC. If they are attached to at the ends of the flight bar, then it is known as twin outboard AFC. We also discussed about uh, construction details of the shearer, like in case of what are the different parts of the shearer in case of single-ended ranging drum shearer and double-ended ranging drum shearer, and how exactly it is being operated, and under what condition each type of shearer is being used. So these topics we discussed in the last video lecture. So in this lecture, I'm going to discuss the following topics. Basically, like in this lecture, right, what are the we'll discuss about what is flame proof. Okay, just a minute. As part of this video lecture, we'll be discussing the following topics, like what exactly the flame proof and intrinsically safe operators, and what are the different types used in underground coal mines operators, known the signaling system. Let me remove this. Okay. So flame-proof and intrinsically safe operators used in mines, and what is the necessity of flame-proofing and intrinsically safe operators in underground mines, and the definition of each one of them, like what is flame-proof and what is intrinsically safe operators, and the field application of flame-proof FLP is nothing but flame-proof operators and intrinsically safe operators. Then we'll discuss about the construction details of flame-proofing, like how exactly the operators is being made as flame proof. Okay, what are the construction features of it? Then we'll discuss about what are different methods of making the circuit intrinsically safe. Then finally we'll be discussing about the construction details of gate and switch gear used for coal drills. Okay, these are the topics which I'm going to cover as part of this video lecture. So what is flame proof now? So a flame proof, flame proof is being used basically if an apparatus used in underground coal mines, if it is operated at a high voltage, okay, and whatever the spark produced during the operation of the apparatus, okay, it should not come or it should not be exposed to the atmosphere. And not only that, even if any explosion occurs in the mine, these apparatus should not be gets damaged. See, the term itself indicates that flame proof, nothing but what? It is a very, very strong construction and should not be what they call gets damaged in the event of any flame or explosion occurs in the mine. Okay, look at here. A flame proof enclosure, including explosion proof for an electric apparatus is the one which can withstand without injury in the event of any explosion of inflammable gas that may occur within it. So if in case of underground coal mines, right, the environment is completely different. It might contain several gases in an underground environment, right? So if these these electrical operators are operated just like that, and what spark that produce, right, because of those sparks, they may catch fire and which leads to explosion. So not only that, even by chance, right, if these gases will go inside the apparatus and the spark produce, in case if it explodes inside the apparatus also, it should not come out. And this apparatus should withstand without any injury, and it should not get damaged. See, it can prevent. That's what it is. A flame-proof enclosure for the electrical apparatus is the one which can withstand without injury in the event of any explosion of the inflammable gas that may occur within it. Next one, it prevents the transmission of flame such as the ignite the inflammable gas which may present in the surrounding atmosphere, such as will ignite the inflammable. See, whatever the spark that produces, right, if it is exposed, okay, it may ignite the vertical gases present in the surrounding atmosphere. So it should not come out just like that. So such an operation is called flame-proof apparatus. Okay, next coming to the intrinsically safe apparatus. The apparatus, see, look at here, the term intrinsically safe itself indicates what? These are all the apparatus which are operated at a low voltage. These are the apparatus operated at a low voltage. Even if any spark produced during the operation of the apparatus, it is of low intensity, whose intensity is very less because it is being operated at a low voltage. So its intensity is very less, and it is the intensity of since the intensity of the spark is very less, it is incapable, because this the spark, right, whatever spark, its intensity is very less, and it is incapable of igniting surrounding atmosphere. So since its intensity less, which makes the environment very safe, such apparatus are known as intrinsically safe apparatus. I repeat, the intrinsically safe apparatus is the one which operated at low voltage. Okay, since it is operated at low voltage, obviously, if any spark produced by the operator during operation of the particular apparatus, okay, it is of less intensity. So the intensity of the spark produced by the apparatus is very less, which is incapable of igniting surrounding atmosphere. So this is what the definition of intrinsically safe apparatus. Okay, let's move on. Then what is the need of flame-proof apparatus now? See, the flame-proof apparatus, as I said, right, these apparatus are operated at a low voltage. So these apparatus will be operated at a low voltage, and whatever the spark produced by those operators, it should not ignite the surrounding atmosphere. Because in underground coal mines, right, mainly the environment is a very restricted environment. It might contain several gases in it. Okay, if any, by chance, if any spark produced by the operators is exposed to the external environment, which may ignite the gases present in the surrounding surrounding of it. So that's what it is. So what is to prevent? What is the necessity now? To prevent the ignition of methane air mixture. Okay, let me rotate it. So what exactly it is? First one is to prevent the ignition of methane air mixture. Second one is what you call to prevent explosions. Okay. Next, it prevents fires by ignition of inflammable gases. Same thing. Okay. Next, to reduce danger due to outbreak of fire, because in case of any explosion occurs, right, these equipments should not get damaged. Okay. Next, to make the machinery sparks incapable of igniting, because its intensity gets reduced. Because we will discuss this further when we discuss about the construction details of flame-proof mixture. Okay, this is what it is. So to make the whatever the spark, but even if any spark, before it comes out and exposed to the surrounding atmosphere, its intensity gets reduced. Okay. Next, to run mines safely as per law. So these are all what exactly the necessity of flame-proof. Next, what is the necessity of intrinsically safe operators? As I said, okay, the intrinsically safe operators are those operators which are operated low voltage. See, the intrinsically safe operators is operated at a low voltage. Next one, the spark produced by the operators is incapable of igniting surrounding atmosphere. So that's what it is. So its intensity is less, which will not cause any damage to the surrounding atmosphere. So that is what exactly the intensely safe apparatus. So let me remove this. Okay, see these diagrams. This basically gives some overview of how exactly the flame-proof apparatus looks like. Look at here. This is a very robust construction. Look at here. Let me tell you this. If you look at here, these are all called flanges. These are all called what? Flanges. Okay. Next one. These are all called special tools basically, which is of 1 inch thickness. Okay, and these are all these bolts, right? They cannot be operated normally. This is called shrouding. Shrouding. This is also called shrouding. Okay, look at here, bolts. This is called shrouding, and these are all called flanges. Flanges. This is to this diagram basically gives an overview of how exactly the flame-proof apparatus looks like in the field. Okay, these are all called. This is again called shrouding. Okay, which is a very strong construction, guys. Okay, anyway, we'll discuss much. These are all what you call the flanges, right? So the flanges are joined together without any insulating material between them. There should not be any insulating material like this. It is of what you call metal to metal contact. In between, right? There will not be anything. It is of what you call metal to metal contact. So this. So this is a metal to metal contact without any insulating material between them. So that's what it is. Okay, metal to metal contact and having 1 inch thickness. So these diagrams basically gives an overview of how exactly the flame-proof apparatus looks like in the field. Okay, this is called the external surface, right? If you look at these bolts, right? Let me draw this. Yeah, this part. Okay, so this is called shrouding because they cannot be opened just like that. You know, if someone wanted to open it, it requires a special tool to open it. So that's what exactly the extra safety feature that is being provided during manufacturing of the flame-proof apparatus. Okay, so this is just to prevent what you call unauthorized opening of the apparatus. Okay, so this is about just a brief overview of what you call outline of the flame-proof apparatus. Okay, let me clear this. Okay, let's move on. Now let us discuss about the construction details of flame-proof apparatus. Okay, so as I said, right, if you look at here, a flame-proof enclosure including explosion-proof for electrical apparatus is the one which can withstand without any, because it must be of robust in construction. It must be of robust in construction, which can withstand without injury in the event of any explosion occurs, any explosion of inflammable gas that may occur within it. Inside the apparatus, in case if any explosion occurs, still it can withstand. Okay, next one. It can prevent the transmission of flame, such as will ignite the inflammable gas which may be present in the surrounding atmosphere, because inside the apparatus, if any particular flame that got produced by chance, okay, it should not be propagated to the outside atmosphere. Now let us discuss further what are the construction details of flame proofing. See, the flame proof protection is also known as the flame proof protection. So the flame proof protection is also known as flange protection. It is also known as what? Flange protection. Okay, it consists of number of flanges. Okay, it consists of number of flanges, and each flange is having 1 inch thickness. This is what I just mentioned, you know, few minutes back in the previous slide. Let's go back. Okay, this is what I was talking about. So it consists of what? Number of flanges. This is called flange. This portion is called flange. Okay, let me put this like this. Instead of that, let's choose something different. Yeah, this is better. Look at here. This is of this much thickness, right? So this is called flange. This is called flange. Flange. This is what exactly the flange. Okay, so it consists of number of flanges, and each flange is having 1 inch thickness, solid metallic plates, you can say. Okay, that's how it is. So let's move on. Look at here. Construction. The flame-proof protection is also known as flange protection. It consists of number of flanges, and each flange is having 1 inch thickness. Next, the flanges are joined together by metal to metal contact without any insulating material between them. So let us see. It's a metal to metal contact. This is one, this one. There should not be any what you call insulating material, because reason is very simple. In case if any spark produced inside the apparatus, right, if it contains some insulating material like rubber, right, which may catch fire, okay, which will defeat the very purpose of maintaining what you call the manufacturing the flame proof apparatus, correct? So that's what it is. So it consists of number of flanges, and each flange is having 1 inch thickness, and these flanges are joined together by metal to metal contact, by metal to metal contact. So that's what it is. Okay, let me clear this. So the flanges are joined together by metal to metal contact without any insulating material between them. Okay, so next one. The joining bolts of the flanges of flame-proof apparatus is provided with external shrouding. Shrouding is nothing but the external portion, so that the apparatus can be opened by special tools. Okay, that's what we discussed, right? A few minutes back, just a minute. So this is called shrouding, the one which we are discussing about. This is called shrouding. Okay, this is called shrouding. So let's move on. Shrouding, so that the apparatus can be opened by special tools. Okay, next, the shrouding of the bolts, the external projection that you have, right, that is called shrouding, right? The shrouding of bolts is used to avoid unauthorized opening of the apparatus, because it can be opened only by means of special tools, and which are not available that frequently in the market. So that, you know, like the person who is in charge of that, he can only can open in the as and when required, right, or in the event of necessary, then he is the only authorized person only can open the flame proof apparatus. So it is just to prevent the unauthorized opening of the apparatus. The external surface of the bolt is being provided with shrouding. Next, the joining surface of flanges is not smooth. Okay, this is very important. Let me explain this here. Let us say thin one. This is one metallic plate, and this is another metallic plate, and these two has to be one over the another. It has to be joined. Am I right? On top of it, it has to be joined. So get here. Let's say these are the two flanges, right? So the joining surface of flanges is not smooth. So it contains something like this, guys. It contains it basically it contains some grooves kind of thing like this. Like this, it will be having. These are all called grooves because it is not smooth. Okay, like this we'll be having. Okay, look at here. So now what exactly the sentence says? Just a minute. Okay, the joining surface of the flanges is not smooth. They are not smooth, and is provided with small grooves. Because why these small grooves, and the other surface also contains a similar kind of grooves. So if any spark that trying to come out of it, okay, suppose let's say there is a spark which is trying to come out of the apparatus. So what it does now, if it is trying, even though it is trying to come out of it, it has to take long path of it. It has to travel like this. What are the path that we have? It has to travel like this, and before it is coming out of the atmosphere, am I right? So it has to take a long path. So during this process, what happens, the intensity of the spark gets reduced, and which makes the environment safe. So that's what exactly the reason behind it. The joining surface of flanges is not smooth and is provided with small grooves, so that the spark produced inside the apparatus, its intensity gets reduced. Apparatus intensity gets reduced. That's what it is, guys. Okay, let's clear this. So, so this is what about the construction details of flame-proof enclosure. So let's recap here. It consists of what? The first point is it must be of robust in construction. Second one is it consists of number of what you call the flanges of 1 inch thickness. 1 inch thickness. Okay, and these flanges are joined together by means of, that's why the flame-proof enclosure is also known as flange protection, which is very important between the entrance examination. The flame-proof protection, so many times this question is being asked, like the flame-proof protection is also known as flange protection. Flange is nothing but the thick plates, right? So that's why it is called flange protection. It consists of, look at here, it consists of number of flanges. Okay, number of flanges, and each flange is having 1 inch thickness, and the flanges are joined together. This is of robust construction. And the second point is what you call, they're joined together by metal to metal contact, without any insulating material. Why the insulating material is not being provided? Because if any spark produced inside the apparatus, or any explosion occurs inside the apparatus, right? Okay, because of that, they may catch fire. If the insulating material is made of rubber, they will catch fire. As a result, the spark will be propagated. The flame will be propagated to the external atmosphere. That's why there should not be any insulating material. Next one is the bolting surfaces. If you look at here, the external surface of this one, right? They are shrouded. This is what exactly it is. Shrouding is nothing but, if you look at here, this only by using ordinary what you call the tools, right? We cannot open this apparatus. It is of shrouded. Shrouding nothing but only with the special tools only we can open this apparatus. Nothing but what is the purpose of shrouding now? So the purpose of shrouding is to avoid unauthorized opening of the flame-proof enclosure or the flame-proof apparatus. Okay, next one, what are the metal to metal contact surface that we have, right? Okay, they're not of what you call the plain surfaces, they are of grooved one. Let's say here, let us say this is one metal. Just I'm trying to give some more what you call a light on it, or some more what you call thought on it. Basically, let's say this is one metal surface. Okay, now what exactly this one? It is grooved, nothing but like it contains some kind of thing. Its surface is not smooth. Like this it will be having. That is nothing but what are the spark produced inside the apparatus. Okay, let's say this is another flange. It is something like this. Okay, so this is one flange and this is another flange. These are all two different flanges. Now they are of grooved one, like this. They are of grooved one. Okay, so if in case, suppose let us say, if any spark produced inside the apparatus, let me choose different color. Okay, if it is trying to come out of it, so since the surface is not smooth, they have to travel the path. They have to travel like this. and before it is coming out of the apparatus. So as a result, what happens? Its intensity gets reduced. So this is what in brief about the construction details of flame-proof enclosure or flame-proof apparatus. So let us move on. Okay, this is about the flame-proof construction details of flame-proof apparatus. What it says now, the flame-proof protection is also known as flange protection. It consists of number of flanges, and each flange is having 1 inch thickness. Next, the flanges are joined together by metal to metal contact without any insulating material between them. Next, the third point is what? The joining bolts of the flanges of flame-proof apparatus are provided with external shrouding so that the apparatus can be opened by special tools. Next, this is very important. The shrouding of the bolts is used to avoid unauthorized opening of the apparatus. Next one is the joining surface of the flanges is not smooth and is provided with small grooves. Okay, provided with small grooves so that the spark produced inside the apparatus intensity gets its intensity gets reduced. So that's what it is. So its intensity gets reduced. Let us see. Let us move on. So this is about the construction details of flame-proof apparatus. Now, what is the now? Let us discuss what are the field applications. Like there are different machines that are being used in underground coal mines, right? So what are the apparatus that are made as flame-proof? Okay. So you might they might ask the question like, you know, what you call you'll be given the list of apparatus, and out of which you are asked to find out what each kind of apparatus is, whether it is intrinsically safe or flame-proof or neither intrinsically safe nor flame-proof. Okay, we need to have a thorough understanding on what kind of apparatus each one is that is being used in underground coal mines. Okay, now look at the field application of flame-proof apparatus. All electrical motors should be provided flame-proof construction for mining usage. Okay, what are the electrical apparatus that are used in underground coal mines? They must be of flame-proof construction. Okay, and the second one is haulage motors. Okay, what are the motors used for the haulage purpose? Okay, they must be of flame-proof construction. Third one is winding motors. Yes, winding engine motors, they must be this one. Next, gate and box, the one which is used to provide the connection to the phase machinery or coal drills, right? So from the underground transformer, the connection to the respective machinery is being given via what you call the gate and panel or gate and box, right? So gate and box, it must be of flame-proof construction. Next, pumps and motor pump. What are the pumps that are being used in underground coal mines? They must be of flame-proof construction. AFC motors, armored phase conveyor, and road header motors, etc. So these are all different types of electrical equipment that are being used in underground coal mines, which must be of flame-proof in construction. Okay, so most of the electrical apparatus, except the apparatus which are operated at a very low voltage, okay, they are of vertical intrinsically safe, and most of the electrical apparatus which operates at a high voltage, they must be of flame-proof construction. Okay, so let's move on. Next, what we call intrinsically safe. We discussed about what is flame-proof and what are the construction details of flame-proof. Then we discussed about what we call the field application of each flame-proof apparatus. What are the apparatus which are used in the field that they are of flame-proof. Next, let us discuss about what we call how to make a circuit intrinsically safe. So as I said, right, the definition of intrinsically safe, it indicates what? These are all the apparatus which are operated at a low voltage, let us say 30 volts or 25 volts, which is a very, very, very less voltage. Okay. In case if any spark produced during operation of these apparatus, okay, since it is operated at a low voltage, its intensity is very less. So since its intensity of the spark produced by the apparatus is very less, okay, which will not create any harm or any danger to the surrounding atmosphere. It will not ignite any surrounding atmosphere. That's why those apparatus are called intrinsically safe apparatus. Okay, because the spark produced intensity is less, and it's which is incapable of igniting surrounding atmosphere. So now, how to make a circuit intrinsically safe now? Okay, because even though if it is operated, is there any way, what you call, we can make the circuit intrinsically safe? Okay, an equipment can be made intrinsically safe by making some circuit modifications. Okay, see, first one is, there are the different methods of making the circuit intrinsically safe. One is by using induction coil. Second one is by using capacitors in the circuit. Third one is combination of this, like by using induction coil and capacitor. So these are the three different methods of making the circuit intrinsically safe. Okay, so induction coil, one is by adding induction coil, second one is by using capacitors, third one is by using induction coil and along with the capacitors. So let us discuss one by one. First one, by using induction coil, the circuit is made intrinsically safe by incorporating induction coil in the circuit. Induction coil is nothing but this kind of coil. Anyway, we'll see in the next slide. Okay, the intensity of the spark produced by the apparatus. Okay, the intensity of the spark produced by the apparatus, okay, is reduced as the spark has to travel through the long path before coming into the atmosphere. So that the circuit becomes intrinsically safe. So what exactly it is? Look at here. So this is what the diagram of it. So it can say this is a circuit, okay, which is connected to some what you call some electric power input, okay, electric power supply. Now what happens? This is called induction coil. So what it does now, if any spark that's trying to come out of it, look at here, spark produced by the apparatus, it has to travel through this path. Like this, it has to travel. Right? It's not effective. So it has to travel like this. So during this process, what happens? Because since it instead of straight, right, it has to travel the path like this. Because this is what exactly the coil is, right? So sorry, my diagram is very poor. Still, I'm trying to explain. So the spark has to travel through this path. As a result, what happens? Its intensity gets reduced. Okay, its spark intensity gets reduced, which makes the circuit very safe. That's why it is called intrinsically safe. It will become intrinsically safe now. So the first method is what? By adding induction coil. Okay, because with the addition of the induction coil, whatever the spark produced by the apparatus, it has to pass through the long path before it is exposed to the atmosphere. In this process, the intensity of the spark produced by the apparatus gets reduced. Okay, so that's what it is. Next one is by using capacitor in the circuit. Okay, next look at here. The apparatus can be made intrinsically safe by adding capacitor in the circuit. Okay, this is what the capacitor. The spark produced by the apparatus charged into it simply gets charged inside the capacitor. It will not even come out of it. Okay, so that's what it is, which will make the circuit very safe. So the apparatus can be made intrinsically safe by adding capacitor in the circuit. The spark produced by the apparatus, okay, charged in the capacitor. So the spark will not come to the outside of the apparatus. The circuit will become intrinsically safe, because since the spark itself not coming out, or it is not being exposed to the outside atmosphere, which makes the circuit pretty much intrinsically safe. So first one is by adding induction coil. Second one is what? By adding capacitor. And the third method is what? By adding combination of this, by using induction coil and capacitor. Here the intensity, because using induction coil, its intensity gets reduced. Using capacitor, it further gets reduced, which will make the circuit much intrinsically safe, much safer one, right? So by combination, the apparatus can be made intrinsically safe by adding induction coil and capacitor in series. Okay, the spark produced by the apparatus has to pass through the induction coil and capacitor, so the intensity of the spark is reduced and the apparatus becomes intrinsically safe. That's what it is, guys. So here, what is the spark that is being produced here? Okay, first one is what? Because they are added in series, right? So this is your coil. Okay, next one is this is your capacitor. So what are the spark produced by the apparatus, right? It has to travel through this path. So in this process only its intensity gets reduced. If there is anything left out, that is still, it gets suppressed using capacitor, so that spark will not come out of the apparatus. Okay, which makes the circuit intrinsically safe, even though if it is operated at a higher voltage, little higher voltage, then still we can make the circuit intrinsically safe. So these are all the different methods of making the circuit. It's very clear, right? Because making the circuit intrinsically safe is nothing but we need to reduce the intensity of the spark produced by the apparatus. That's it. If its intensity gets reduced, which is nothing but which is incapable of igniting surrounding atmosphere. That is nothing but the circuit has become intrinsically safe. So that's what it is. Okay. So now what are the field applications now? Okay, the field applications of intrinsically safe operators. So examples of intrinsically safe operators in mines is, one is haulage signaling system. First one is haulage signaling system, and second one is underground telephones or geniphones, the one which operated by means of magnetic induction, right? They are of what you call the intrinsically safe. First one is the haulage signaling system, because the haulage signaling system, they are operated at a low voltage of 30 volts. So which is what, even during its operation, if any spark produced, it will not create any harm to the surrounding atmosphere, or it will not ignite the surrounding atmosphere. That's why it is intrinsically safe. And the second one is what? Underground telephones. Okay, these are the geniphones. It's also called geniphones. These are the different operators used in underground mines, which are of intrinsically, underground coal mines mainly, which are of intrinsically safe. Next, coming to the flame safety lamp. This is very important, guys. So people will ask like, okay, what about the flame safety lamp? The flame safety lamp used in underground mines is, it won't comes into it won't fall in neither of the both the categories. It won't fall in any of the both the categories. Okay, that's why it is called neither intrinsically safe nor flame proof. It is an apparatus approved by DGMS. So what are the flame proof operator? What are the flame safety lamp that will be using for the detect in underground coal mines mainly? Okay, for the detection of methane gases, it is of neither intrinsically safe nor flame proof. It is an apparatus approved by DGMS, Director General of Mine Safety. So nothing but, so if this is very important point actually in any of entrance examination related to mining, they'll simply ask like, what kind of apparatus is the flame safety lamp is. So all we need to say is, it is neither flame proof nor intrinsically safe. It is an apparatus approved by the DGMS. Nothing but it is an approved apparatus. Okay, so that's what it is. Next, let us discuss about the construction details of the drill panel or gate end panel. So as I said, right, these are all of what you call, look at here, number of flanges, joined together. They are joined together. Okay, these are all the flanges, right? So this is a simple skeleton diagram of what you call the drill panel. Okay, construction details of the drill panel or gate end box. Let's see. 1 second. So let us discuss about the construction details of drill panel or gate end box. So what exactly this one? Look at here, the gate end drill panel or gate end box is used to make necessary connections from the transformer, right? It contains so many what you call the relays or protective devices inside these apparatus. Okay, then from here, from the drill panel, it will be connected to the electric power supply will be given to the face machinery. So it is of what? Obviously, it must be of what? Flame-proof construction. So it consists of number of flanges. If you look at here, let me annotate this. It consists of number of flanges. Look at here. So this is one small portion, right? These are all different flanges, plates, which are joined together. This is the other section of it, side view of it. Okay, number of flanges it consists of. Okay, these are all called shrouding. bolts, right, which are made of shrouded. Okay, so it consists of number of flanges, and one is, this is meant for, this is, look at here, just a minute, let me try. This is of skid mounted because it can be dragged on the floor, so that's why it is of skid mounted. And this is of what you call lower compartment, this one, these two. And this is of upper compartment, and these are all what you call the shrouded bolts. And this is what you call the cable entry, input cable, you can say, input cable entry. Okay, next one, this is what you call the plug and socket element through which we can make our output. And this one is basically meant for what you call the tripole switch. Okay, let me label them. So look at here, the drill panel or gated box, right? It is of robust construction. It consists of two compartments. One is called upper compartment. Upper compartment is nothing but the top portion, right? Upper compartment. Upper compartment. And the second one is of lower compartment. Lower compartment. And it is of skid mounted. Look at here, this one. This is of skid mounted. Because so that it can be dragged easily. Okay, when the face advances, right, as the face advances, the entire machine has to be what you call shifted to a location nearer to the face, right? In such a situation, during shifting operation, right, it can be easily dragged on the floor. So during that time, right, since it is of skid mounted, it won't penetrate into the floor. So that's what it is. Next one, this is called shrouding. Bolts with the shrouding. Bolts with the shrouding or shrouded bolts, shrouding. Okay, and this is called tripole switch. Anyway, we'll discuss tripoles or three-way switch, you can say, SWITCH switch. Okay, and this is called the what you call input cable gland. Input cable gland, for which you can supply this one. This is what you call the plug and socket arrangement. Plug and socket, so that we can give the output power supply. This is also kind of plug and socket kind of thing here, which you'll have. Okay, so here inside this, it contains number of this is the tripole switch again, which I added, right? Tripole switch. This is what you call the input gland, the one which I talked about, right? Input one. And it contains internally, it contains a bus bar kind of system, bus bar kind of thing here, so that the cable connection, necessary connections will be provided inside this one. Okay, it consists of number of bus bars kind of thing. Okay, one cable, second one, sorry, second one. So here internally it contains some kind of bus bar. So this is of skid mounted. This is of bus bar kind of thing. So these are like in brief about what you call the drill panel. Okay, this is how it looks like. Okay, anyway, we'll discuss in detail in the coming slides. Okay, this is about the constructional details of this. See, Inca cable this. It basically it consists of, it is a flame-proof construction, and it is of skid mounted, so that during transportation, right, it can easily transported from one place to another place. And it consists of two compartments. One is called the upper compartment, the one which I mentioned here. Second one is called the lower compartment. all the whatever the protective equipments or the whatever the what you call the tripping devices, what are the different protective equipments, okay, that are used, that are necessary, right, in the event of any need, like if there is a short circuit, so okay, the entire circuit must be tripped, right? So for that purpose, short circuit relay. In case of excess of power, right, so it has to be tripped over current relay. And in case of what you call the earth continuity is not proper to the machine, then it is called earth leakage relay. Okay, and next one, there is another one that is called pilot core switch during drilling machine operation, right? When the machine is not in use, unless until the operator presses the switch, right, the power will not be supplied. That for that purpose we'll be using pilot core relay. That is also present in the lower compartment. Okay, so now here, look at here, this is upper compartment and this is a lower compartment. This is your input cable, what you call the cable gland. The power will be input supply to be given, and the leads are taken out and they'll passed into the lower compartment without taking their insulation. Okay, here the insulations of the leads are taken out, and using a bus bar arrangement they'll be connected, and they'll be passed into the lower compartment. So the lower compartment consists of all the protective relays in the lower compartment. Okay, and there will be a what you call the tripole switch. The switches, see here, these two compartments are interlocked in such a way that these two compartments are interlocked in such a way that, okay, unless until the tripole switch is in off position, okay, if it is in on position, right, you cannot open this lower compartment unless until the operator places the tripole switch in on off position. Okay, if it is in off position, then only we can open the lower compartment, otherwise you cannot open the lower compartment. So that's what it is. Okay, so this is about this one. Control this. So this is about the drill panel or gate and box. This is again another closer view of this one. If you look at here, this is of skid because it clearly here it is clearly visible. Okay, so this is somewhat older type, old model. Okay, so it is of skid mounted and it consists of lower compartment. This is your lower compartment. All the parts are labeled here. This is of upper compartment, and these bolts are what you call shrouded. These bolts are shrouded. Okay, and these are all meant for what you call the plug and socket arrangement for this one. This is the incoming cable, and these are called the outgoing cable. This is a tripole switch. Okay, what you can using which you can on and off this one. Next one is what you call, these are all the flanges. Look at here how these flanges are attached here in this case. Okay, these are all flanges having a thick flanges, right? They are joined together by metal to metal contact without any insulating material. So this is another what you call the diagrammatic representation of the drill panel of flame, which is of flame-proof construction. Okay, so this is another one. Look at your gate and box, which is of what you call skid mounted. So this is the top one is what you call upper compartment, and this is lower compartment. There is a tripole switch, isolation switch. Okay, these two compartments are interlocked in such a way that unless until the operators switch off the power supply, then only we can open the lower compartment. Otherwise, we cannot open the lower compartment. This is a plug and socket arrangement. This is a bus bar incoming cable. Okay, through which the bus bar kind of arrangement here inside this one. Okay, in the lower compartment, it consists of all the protective equipments, all the protective relays. Okay, so that's what it is. It consists of all the protective equipments or all the protective relays. Okay, so we'll discuss in detail about. Okay, let us finish up this. So what exactly the construction details of the gate and panel or gate and box? Okay, for controlling the motors nearer to the face. Okay, because it, as I said, right, it is basically used to provide required power supply to the face machinery. They are the machinery which are being operated near to the face. So, okay, for controlling the motor near to the face, near to the coal face, coal cutters, conveyors, loaders, drilling machines, the switch gear is usually of iron-clad, flame-proof, air brake type, preferably equipped with remote control with all possible protective devices. Okay, the figure gives the external outline view of typical switch unit. Consists of a welded steel case, okay, nothing but the flanges, with a removable top cover and a front cover. Because the top cover, the top upper compartment can be opened by removing the top cover, and front cover, lower compartment can be opened by removing the front cover, and machined joints and shrouded bolts heads, as I said, right, which can be opened by means of specially manufactured tool. The whole being mounted on skids with a detachable end plates. Okay, several interconnected switches may, if desired, be mounted side by side to form a switchboard. The bus bar cover is being removed. Okay, that's what it is. So that you can take out this one. The in-cable cable arrangement may consist of a compound-filled trifurcating box with an insulating spread chamber or bolted plug and socket coupling, which can be secured to either and the bus bar chamber. The outgoing arrangement consists of a 4-pin 100 amp BSI plug and socket kind of arrangement. Okay, the case has two separate flame-proof compartments because it consists of two separate flame-proof compartments. Next, the upper compartment contains the bus bars and a 3-pole reversing isolated switch. That's what we discussed, right? It contains the bus bar and 3-pole. Look at here. Yes, this is a bus bar, the one which we are discussing. Right? This is bus bar and the 3-pole isolation switch. Okay, these two. So the upper compartment contains bus bars and a 3-pole reversing isolation switch operated by a specially shaped key, and so interlocked that the lower chamber cannot be opened unless the isolator is off. If it is kept on off position, and all the operators and the contact are dead and safe. Okay. Next, the lower compartment contains 3-pole air brake main contactor electromagnetically operated switch, because it contains all the safety devices basically. Okay, it consists of 3-pole air brake main contactor and an electromagnetically operated switch fitted with a magnetic blowout coils and are shields on a pole, a single phase voltage transformer, because it has to provide a power supply, low voltage power supply to the pilot core, right? So it contains a separate transformer for that, which basically operates at a voltage of 25 to 30 volts, and the necessary protective devices are as follows. The first one is what? These are all the different protective devices which are present in the lower compartment. First one is overcurrent protection by means of 3 series of overcurrent clips. Okay. Second, next one is under voltage relays, because the voltage is small, still it has to strip the circuit. Okay. Next, earth leakage relay. In case of the earth content is not proper, still like it has to trip the circuit. For that purpose, you'll be having another protective this one. See here, the earth continuity protection to ensure that until a thorough earth connection is established, the power cannot be switched on, and it should be earth circuit disconnected at either. That's what it is. Next one is the pilot core protection with a flag indicator, which has been, because unless until the operator presses the pilot core switch, the power will not be supplied to the machine. So since it is operated at a low voltage, it is mainly used in case of cold drills. The pilot core, in case of cold drill, right, electric cold drill, the pilot core switch is present nearer to the handheld grip. Okay, interlocks. What exactly why the interlocking? This is another safety feature, right? Why the interlocking between the upper compartment and lower compartment is provided? Because unless by keeping the drill panel in on position, you should not open the lower compartments, right? So unless until the interlocking is provided in such a way that unless until you keep the tripole switch in off position, then only we can we can open the lower compartment. So the interlocks to prevent the opening of the box while the switch is on, and the accidental closing of switch while the box is open. So that's what it is. So it unless during maintenance time, right? It is it makes the environment very safe. So that's what the purpose of this one. Okay, and there is another what you call the remote control kind of thing, okay, which kind of thing which is being operated by means of a pilot core. Okay, since it is operated at a low voltage, that kind of provision is also present. Okay, corresponding arrangement is present in the gate and box. Okay, with this okay, this we'll discuss in the next class. Thank you.